Hi there, my name is Kaitlyn and this is my channel, The DIY Nurse. I'm an emergency room nurse here in Canada and I'm teaching myself DIY in my free time. I thought it might be fun to take you guys along for the ride and maybe we can learn something together. So last week we refinished furniture and this week we're doing something totally different. We're doing embroidery. So I got an apron for a pottery class I'm going to be doing in a few weeks and it's super boring. So I thought it might be fun to add something to it and make it a little bit more personal. So why not embroider it? Here in Canada we've been getting wildflowers, and so like lupins and daisies and little yellow flowers that I don't know the names of. But they're just so cute, and so I thought it might be fun to put a little bundle of them on my apron. I don't really do patterns very well. I'm way too chaotic and I just kind of go for it and hope for the best. But for this video I've decided to at least sketch out the idea I have in my head. So I'll show you that. So the idea is just like a little bundle of flowers and greenery, and I thought it would look really cute on the pocket of my apron. But just be extra careful that things will hopefully turn out for the best. I did a little mock-up of the different flowers with the different threads I want to use, just to make sure that everything looks nice together. So I've already taken off the hoop, but here it is. I've got lupins, daisies, and little yellow flowers on there. So I think that'll end up looking pretty cute. So let's go. So the materials you're going to need for this project are a 5-inch embroidery hoop that you can get at really any craft store or fabric store. I got a little package of needles. I don't know if you can see that. A little package of needles. You can really get any type as long as they fit your thread. And then I'm using some DMC embroidery threads. Unfortunately, these are threads that I've had for quite a while, so I don't know all the color codes. They've just been in my embroidery box for I don't even know how long, but you can really use any colors that you really like. I'm just using 2 different types of green, a purple, an off-white, a orangey color, yellow, and just kind of a light pink. It looks kind of orange on the video, but it's light pink. And the last thing, and the most important thing you need, is something to embroider. So we've got our boring apron and we're ready to go. Okay, so we've set up our hoop on one of the pockets. I want to put the bundle of flowers facing this way. I always put this part toward the top of what I'm embroidering so that I know which way is up. I just have it turned this way so that I can reach into the pocket easily. So what I always do is I'll split the thread because the whole thread's too thick. So there's 6 strands in there, so I separate them like that. And I will pull them apart. Not only does that make your life a little bit easier with threading the needle, but it also makes the embroidery look a lot more dainty and small, which is sometimes nice when you're doing a smaller project like this. Right, and then you're just going to thread your needle. Okay, we're threaded at one end, and then we're just going to tie a knot at the other end. Okay, so I have threaded my needle and I'm ready to get started. I've put the basic shape that I want onto here, which is just a lot of little branches kind of reaching out, or stems I mean. And I'm just going to start doing the basic shape of the lupin petals. For that, I usually use a satin stitch because it just fills up the space really nicely. So for the loop-ins, I'm basically using the satin stitch to make all these little bundles of petals. I'm doing about 3 threads per bundle, and I'm trying to make the center thread slightly longer so it has that nice little point to it. So we're just going to continue this all the way up, and as we get higher, we're going to taper it down to just 3 across, and then 1, and then 2, and then 1, and then we'll move on to the next ones. So now I'm at 4 rows of petals, so I'm going to start tapering down to 3. Okay, now that we have a row of 3, we're going to go in with a dark green, and we're going to lead the stem all the way up, and then we're going to do the last 2 rows of petals in green because the tips of the loop-ins are always a different color. So for the stem, we're going to be using something called a back stitch, which gives us a nice straight line. You go, I'll show you. You go up, and then you want to go back in about the length that you want your thread to be the whole way up. So we kind of start with a straight stitch. And then you're going to go back up ahead of the stitch, so over here. And then you're going to go back towards your first stitch and kind of try to put it into the same hole almost. Like that. All right, we're going to do that all the way up. Okay, so you have 1 loop in, so you can just repeat that process until you have as many as you want, and then we'll move on to the next flower. So, excuse the lighting changing so much during this video. We started with sunlight and now we're down to a lamp. So, I've added my 3 loop ends, and now I'm going to move on to the daisies. So I'll show you how we do that. It's actually cute. It's actually made with a stitch called the lazy daisy. So with a lazy daisy, you want to go up, and then you're going to go back into basically the same spot. And then it's going to leave this loop. So with this loop, you want to come up inside of it. You get real close to this loop end. And so now when you pull, that loop will tighten on this string. And then you're just going to go on the opposite side of the loop to kind of hook it in there. And it's a lazy daisy. So we're just going to do that in kind of a half circle because we're going to do a daisy that's facing upwards. So we're not going to see the full sprawl of the petals. We're just gonna see it from like a side profile. So I'll show you that. They don't all have to be perfect. They don't all have to be the same size. Because in nature, no flowers are exactly the same. So we can use that as an excuse. So with my lazy daisy stitches, what I like to do is I like to go in again to kind of fill them in. So I do one more lazy daisy stitch inside the ones that we just did. And you can see how that just fills it out. So we're just going to keep on adding our petals and add as many daisies as you want, and we'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to do the center of the daisies. Okay, now that we have our daisies, I'm going to show you how to do the middle. So for the middles, we're going to fill them up with something called a French knot. So I'll show you how to do that. So you're going to come up through the middle, and then we are going to go around the thread. Go around it twice, just like that, and then we're going to try to go right back in where our thread came out. And there's one French knot, and I'll keep showing you. And you go around twice. Oh, sorry. Go around twice, and then you go right back in where you came out. And it just makes this little cute little knot. I had trouble with French knots when I first learned them, so I'll show you a few more times. So you go around the needle twice, and you go right back in where you came out. And then you're just going to keep doing that. And you're going to fill up the middle of this daisy, and then we'll move on to the other daisies. Okay, so our daisies are done. So now we're just going to do the stems, which I'm going to do in a slightly lighter green just to give the stems a bit of contrast. We're going to use the same stitch, which is the back stitch that we used for the lupin stems as well. Alright, now that we have all of our stems, we're going to add some cute little yellow flowers over here. So we're going to use the same stitch that we used for the daisies, the lazy daisy stitch, but we're going to use yellow for the petals and orange for the middle. Alright, now that we're done all of our French knots, we're going to give these little flowers some stems using the back stitch that we've been using for all the other stems. Now that we're done our little flowers and their stems, we're going to do our final part, which is going to be the foliage that is going to be branching out on either side of our piece. So for this, we're going to basically make the stem the same way we've been doing all the stems, which is with the back stitch. And then we're going to be forming the leaves with something called the fishbone stitch. So let me add those stems and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we do the fishbone stitch. So from here, we're going to do kind of similar to what we did for the Lazy Daisy, where we're going to pop it through like that and then meet it in the middle like that. Then we're going to go back in. Do the same thing. We're going to go on either side of our leaf. And then we're going to come up in the middle and we're going to catch it so it makes this nice V shape. Another. There we go, you get this nice leaf shape. So we're just going to continue that. We're going to line them up on either side of this stem, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and we're all done. And that's it, we're all done. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. If you end up doing this project or you got inspired by it, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from anybody who made it this far into the video, because honestly, I do appreciate it a lot. I'm still learning, and I have a lot to learn about not just DIY, but having a YouTube channel and figuring out how that works. But I have lots to learn, so I hope you enjoyed, and let's keep having a good time. All right, bye.